All right, welcome to another episode of Ruthless Obsession. I am your host, Kevin,
And I'm Scott.
and we are bringing you all the sports arguments that you absolutely need to hear. Because if you didn't, Lord knows what would happen. Scotty, how are you doing today, buddy? I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm doing great. How are you doing, man?
I'm great. You look well. You look healthy. Is everything
Yeah.
the wife's good?
Yeah, wife's good, everything's good. Uh it's nighttime where I'm at and it's still daytime where you're at. That's a little weird.
That's accurate. All of our peer listeners will be happy to know the time of day that it is where we are. Um, time zones are crazy. We kind of got into it before. I don't think we need to rehash this. Maybe we'll put
No,
a supplementary episode up about our time zone discussion. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got nothing to say to that.
Well, you look like you had something to say.
I always do.
Um, I guess the two things we're going to talk about today, some recent news with the Baseball Hall of Fame. The voting has occurred, and no one is being inducted. Very exciting. And then we'll also get into kind of previewing the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So first, let's kind of get into the whole baseball stuff. I think admittedly, you and I are kind of experts of none, um, you know, casual knowledge of everything. When it comes to baseball voting, I mean, it's not something that I've ever paid attention to very much, but I've got strong opinions about. So I'm not particularly qualified to complain about anything, but I'm going to. I hope you feel the same.
I do, yeah. Speaking as a baseball fan, I think that just gives us enough right to complain about whatever we want, right?
Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
our right as fans.
So I guess the first question is, do you even care that no one got inducted to the Hall of Fame this year? Is that like, are you just kind of, nah,
It's a
okay.
fair question, and I guess normally I'd say no on the surface. However, when you sit and think about why no one was chosen, and I'm sure Drew's got this info, but this is the first time since 1960 where nobody has been inducted
Yep.
in a given year. And the reasoning, and it kind of gets into the deeper issue of voting in general and who is voting. Like my biggest sticking point with all of this nonsense is the people that get to vote on the Hall of Fame. And it's the Baseball Writers Association. As I'm sure you know that. Everybody knows that. I think most people know that. And I'm not going to sit here and be like they didn't have their hand in the dirt, how can they decide, because a lot of these people, they're reporters, they follow the teams, but it's gotten to such a place where these people are taking moral high grounds and they're protecting their own reputation and letting that influence who they vote for. And I think that is completely whack. And it's been that way for a long time, ever since the whole steroid era in the 90s and all that stuff. I mean, it's all been a controversy. I don't know if it was that way before then, before I was even born. Um, but the whole thing seems just flawed on the very surface of it. Are you picking up any of that? Are you smelling any of that?
I'm smelling it. I feel like the the
I
ba
I
the base
hate this. I hate this. It's driving me nuts.
What? What's driving you
Well,
nuts?
because there are seriously people out there who like should be in regardless of the steroid era. I know a lot of people talk about like how if there's an asterisk next to steroid users, there should also be one for people who got in before like the Negro League was integrated and stuff like that. Like that's a big one. Why don't they have asterisks? But there's just complete nut jobs out there who get to decide these votes, and they use arguments like I'll never vote for a first ballot person. Like, could you imagine if that happened to like Mariano Rivera? He was the only unanimous decision ever, right? Could you imagine if there was one of those sticklers who was like, "Well, it's his first ballot, so I'm just not going to do it," Like that's completely ridiculous that that is somebody's actual stance out there, and it really actually affects these people's lives. Like they
But
don't get in.
didn't you just prove against your point that there was a unanimous?
There's only ever been one, right?
Okay.
But I'm talking like there are actual people out there who go on the record that say that they aren't going to vote for first balloters. And it's like, people who clearly should get in on their first ballot even. Like, I mean, next year's first balloters are going to be like Jimmy Rollins, David Ortiz, A-Rod, Mark Teixeira, Ryan Howard, and Tim Lincecum. How are like some of those
Good
people
class.
not
Good
going to
class.
be voted for, right? Like that's ridiculous.
Scotty,
Well,
tell us what you think.
I'll tell you, and here's the reason why: is that the Baseball Writers Association, they believe, like, they treat and feel that their little Hall of Fame vote is basically like the College of Cardinals electing the next damn pope. You know what I mean? Like they hold this vote in such high prestige regard that, and it's really not, okay? It's the freaking Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a cool place to go. It's a nice museum to visit. A lot of good players are immortalized. But when you start turning your vote into this moral purity test, that you're like this arbiter of what's right and wrong in all of baseball, it's the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard of in my life. I mean, you're a damn writer. You write for Yahoo Sports and you get to vote. Like, I mean, really? And you're gonna treat this like that this is like some testament to your own character when you cast a vote? Look, if you the Kurt Schilling in this year is the biggest snub, so to speak, who clearly should be in the Hall of Fame, even though he today just said that he doesn't feel like he should. But I think he's just trying to take the high ground here. The only reason why he doesn't have 75% of the votes is because there's a few folks out there that disagree with some of the things that he said, political comments and whatever. And I don't really care about the comments, but like, if that's the reason why you're not going to put someone in the Hall of Fame, I mean, you really need to reanalyze your criteria here for voting. It just seems silly to me.
Yeah, you mentioned Kurt Schilling, and not to get all political and anything, but I truly believe that the foundation of decision on whether someone should be in the Hall of Fame is first and foremost the performance that they had on the field. I mean, it seems too simple to say. Like, you feel like you wouldn't even need to say it like that, but it's true. And I read an article that came out earlier today from a guy that has a vote. His name's Ron Chimelis, Chimelis. It doesn't really matter, but he was talking about specifically Kurt Schilling and how he voted for him because they submitted their votes like months ago, and how he's not going to vote for him next year, and like how he's glad why he's glad that Schilling didn't get in, blah blah blah, and some of the reasoning for Schilling specifically. But this kind of applies to any person, Barry Bonds, anybody that used steroids, anybody that has some marks against them. But even the steroid guys are a little bit different than Schilling anyway. Some of the reasons he says is there's no evidence that Schilling really wants to be there in the first place. He cites Schilling's comments about the January 6th, that just occurred in the riots. He called his baseball career, like, he's already borderline in terms of stats and whatever. And he cites the character clause when you're considering Hall of Fame voting. I know. And here's what I would say. If I don't know what Schilling's comments were. I imagine they were very pro Trump or pro whatever was happening. But I just wonder, Scotty, what do you think? If a current Hall of Famer that's currently in Cooperstown currently has this bust on the wall wherever they put him, if he had said those same exact comments, are they removing him from the Hall of Fame?
I can tell you this:
I seriously doubt that.
you go back in the early days of baseball between, I don't know, 1890 and 1960s. I guarantee you there's some unsavory characters in there. I bet you there's probably some radio clippings and stuff about, of those players saying some pretty bad things that wouldn't really fly today, but were acceptable back then. No one's kicking them out. It's ridiculous to use someone's views and opinions on politics, or really just moral character in general, as a criteria of getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think you shouldn't be voting, because it's about your contributions to the sport on the field. It's about the statistics. It's about what you meant culturally for the game at the time. All those things need to be in play when you're selecting someone from the Hall of Fame, because I can guarantee you, 100 years from now, no one's going to remember anything Kurt Schilling ever said about anything. They'll see his plaque in the hall. They'll remember some of his iconic maybe moments when he was pitching, and that would be it. No one's going to think about anything else. And I can tell you that for a fact because, like I just said, 100 years ago, I'm sure there's some guys that said some, I'm sure they uttered racial slurs on many times, and they've done, they held beliefs that wouldn't be a commonly held belief today. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be remembered for what they actually did on the field in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right, and I completely agree, and it's the same thing with in football. It's a little bit different, but To didn't get voted into Hall of Fame for the longest time because people thought he was a bad teammate. It's like you're and that at least that's relevant to his playing days.
It's
But
more relevant
still,
than some of the other, yeah.
it's at least it's more relevant. But still, it's like
But like
the,
his
the dude's got
numbers
all the
prove,
numbers.
yeah.
The guy's won. He's won. I don't think he ever won a championship, but he was on He was on teams that went to the Super Bowl at least. And the dude was no question. He's second in a bunch of categories. Like there's no question about it. But for some reason, these voters are gonna like rest on their laurels and be like, oh no, like not the first year, maybe the fifth year. It's like it's arbitrary and ridiculous, and it places so much power in people that don't, frankly, I don't think deserve it.
You want
Like
to hear?
like
Go ahead,
Sammy
Andrew.
Sosa this year. So there's 4 people this year who this is their 9th year on the ballot, which means they only have 1 left. That's Schilling, Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Sammy Sosa. Sosa only got 68 votes, 17%, right? Like, how is that even possible? Like, just his numbers. I understand steroids and stuff like that, but like, you know, I kind of go by the Jose Canseco logic where everybody was doing it, so it was kind of like a fair playing field. But I
Yeah.
also think that steroids don't actually increase your ability on the like it makes you stronger, sure, but like it doesn't make your
Uh,
reaction time faster. It doesn't make you like
it's a very different conversation
but
that we're
I'm
talking
just
about.
saying, like, for people to just exclude these guys specifically because they were in that era is like mind-boggling. Like what they did for the sport, how popular the sport was when they were around, like because of these guys. Like I don't know. I
They
just
should bring they should bring
bogus.
steroids back. I want more home runs, man. Let's go
Do it.
deep. I don't
Pump
care.
them up.
No, but
And
The
also,
la-
you would have pitches being thrown 110.
pitchers aren't allowed. No, just
no,
batters.
just
Yeah.
batters. The only,
They
the
lower the
only
batting mound, and I've got a whole other slew of rules. We'll do that. We'll do a different
That'll be
episode
another.
on that.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll add here, and this is sadly probably the most cynical part, is that when you're putting the hall votes in the hands of the writers, and they're all voting, and it's being revealed in a time where, as a baseball writer, there's not much to talk about. I bet you that guy who you just quoted today, he might have thought in the back of his head, you know what? I'm not going to vote for Schilling because he's not going to get it anyways, and then I can write a whole article in the month of January and get some clicks and get some attention out of it. I mean, you got these writers who, I mean, hell, who's writing about baseball these days? Who's reading that stuff? What kind of career do they really have? So anything they can do to drum up some controversy, they got a whole bunch of clicks on ESPN or whatever apps today, and got a little paycheck from that. So I don't know. I think that there's lots of enhancements that need to be made to that system. So
Look,
that's all I got
look,
to say about that.
little click bump. Little click bump.
A quick
Like
bump.
that.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's BuzzFeed. Hey,
The one thing I'll kind of the one last thing I'll say is you mentioned that Schilling said today that he doesn't want to be on the ballot next year. I think he's doing that, kind of talking about To. I think he's just doing that because you can still be put into the Hall of Fame later on by
by the
the
veterans.
players
Yeah,
by
players.
veterans that vote. I think he would much prefer that. He would respect that more than having a bunch of these in his mind like peons or whatever, these people that didn't put the glove on, didn't toe the slab. Yeah, that he would just respect it more. So I think I don't think they're going to do it. I think they'll still stay on the ballot. But
Well, that's what's crazy is that the Baseball Writers Association came out with a statement today saying that they don't want him removed from the ballot. It's like you don't want to put him in, but you also don't want him removed. Why?
why give up their power?
Because you
Yeah,
want to write about it next year. You want to get a
that's
few
right.
more clicks. When they snub him
Yeah.
for the last time.
It's the whole altar of baseball. It's so obnoxious. Like the NFL literally comes out every single offseason with rule changes. But baseball, I mean, they're still killing guys over flipping a damn bat. I'm like as soon as this is again getting off of the rails a little bit too, just talking about baseball in general and how they have not changed at all and how they should. But as soon as there's a little bit of star power, they squash them down because they don't respect the game enough. It's like, just give me a break, okay? You play a freaking game. I mean, I'm a sports guy. Obviously, we all love sports, but like we're taking
Sure.
ourselves a tad too seriously here. Well, like when you exactly what you said, when they're acting like this is like voting for the Pope. I love that analogy. Very good.
Thanks, just off the cuff.
Cool. All right, let's talk Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Do you want to start off? Give us your thoughts on Brady, Mahomes, any of that stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I'll kick it off. It's really cool and it's a great achievement that Brady's got going to his 10th Super Bowl. I mean, I get it. And it'll be one of those things that maybe when I'm an old guy and I'm talking to my kids about, football in my day and stuff, like, it'd be a cool story, but I'm so freaking sick of Tom Brady in the Super Bowl yet again on a team that's just kind of I mean, they've got great players and it's a good team. They really kind of Frankenstein Madden free agent style. This team together with all the names they have, but it's just like it's not excited. The Packers I thought had a much more compelling season. It was a better story. Aaron Rodgers with the whole offseason stuff. Would have much rather seen that. So Brady, I'm like, I don't know. Mahomes, he's getting real close to being that way too. I like the fact that NFL has some parity, so I like to see some Super Bowls changing up every now and then. But this really is a nice changing of the eras type of a Super Bowl you can highlight, where you got the goat Tom Brady against the young gunslinger, what have you, with Mahomes. So for that aspect, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an exciting game. I think it has all the potential to you know. To really thrill everyone with touchdowns, back and forth, that type of stuff. So for that reason, it'll be cool. Also, not a big fan of the color scheme of the Reds. Like you got the Tampa red and you got the Chiefs red. It's like
I
I
want
don't
to see
know.
that
Let's get some
pewter. I
different
want to see
colors
that
in there,
pewter in
but
there. Yeah. So
that's
you
right.
know,
So that's what I think.
thinking about the Super Bowl in general, and this is a bit off topic, but I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, who makes the Super Bowl and what people remember? It really is important to win these games and to be that team that, I don't know, the brand that's winning, because like you said, 20, 30, 40 years from now, I mean, we live so in the moment. We all follow our teams, and you care about what Joe Burrow's doing, and I care about the Browns making the playoffs for the first time in 17 years, whatever. But nobody remembers that, and we might remember that. We will remember that. But I think about all the other teams that had seasons this year. I'm not going to remember that the Dolphins made the playoffs, or actually, they didn't make the playoffs. I'm not going to remember that they lost on like a tiebreaker technicality, or they missed the playoffs by that. No one will remember that. So like the legacy that you gain from winning so many championships and all those things. Think about 50 years from now when we look back, or just in the NFL history books. There's a whole 2 decades that's just going to be stamped with Patriots. And yeah, you'll have like an Eli Manning in there, and you'll have a Rodgers in there, a Breeze in there. It's all going to be Brady. This whole era of the last 20 years of our football lives have been all Tom Brady. And now, because he's in there with a different team, it's not even going to be Brady Belichick, because that's what it was going to be. Now it doesn't matter if Belichick wins the Super Bowl next year. It's about Brady and how it's something we've never seen before. We've seen head coaches go on crazy dynasty runs. We've seen that before. We've never seen a quarterback do what he's doing, and it's obnoxious to me.
It
I
it, it
do
is.
not appreciate it now. I do not want to see it continue. I appreciate greatness. I'm a huge LeBron fan. I want LeBron to play forever. So maybe I'm a little bit hypocritical in that regard. But Tom Brady has won just about everything he's set out to win. He's got nothing to play for other than like little petty I don't know, personal challenges that we all speculate on, don't even know if are real. For all we know, he just loves playing football and he's really good at it. You know, what I would say is this: in terms of this game specifically, it is exciting to have Mahomes and Brady. Great. It's not what I wanted. I actually wanted the exact opposite. I was rooting so hard for the Bills this year. I'm not in on like a repeat, team. That I like the Chiefs a lot, but they just won. Um, what I will say about the Chiefs, if the Chiefs win, the reasons I'll be happy. I like Mahomes generally. Love Andy Reid generally. Another reason I like it is because Breeze and Rogers, like you have a lot of success early, you win a ship, and then it's been 10 years since either one of them has been back to the Super Bowl. Like, Mahomes, get in, win your two, and get out of there. Like, your legacy's set. You're a guaranteed Hall of Famer, regardless of what happens. Like, you might have a Brady-like dynasty ahead of you. That's all well and good. But like I'm not saying I want the Chiefs to win, but that's a reason that I will be happy if they win.
But Kev, here real quick, you've sparked something in me that really just pissed me off. That I didn't really
That's why
think
I'm
about.
here.
I didn't think about this until you just said it. Because you're right, Rodgers and Breeze, they won one early and they have not done a lot since. And I'm just really pissed off that Tom Brady this year decides to come to the NFC and knocks Breeze and knocks Rodgers out. I mean, remove Tom Brady from the equation, it's Breeze and Rodgers in an epic, NFC North battle and a very deserving team going to the Super Bowl. And now Brady comes in and just totally just screws those guys' plans up with this team. It's a good. I mean, the Bucks are a good team.
It's a
I like
good
Bruce
team, but it's
Arians.
built around him. It was
It is.
literally thrown together to make this happen. Like,
Hey, and they did it. I mean, it's really
it's
look,
so infuriating.
You will hear me ad nauseum, I'm sure, talk about my problems with the NBA doing that. But if you could actually do that in the NFL to put 22 guys together in this hodgepodge, whatever, and then turn that team into a Super Bowl winning team the very first season, that is fantastic. I mean, that is it's never been done before. At least I don't think at that level in the NFL because it requires so many people to put together a team like that. So you can't just you know build it. But and to their credit, that's awesome. I mean, again, I think Bruce Arians is a great coach. He seems like a coach that should win a Super Bowl. Um, that whole roster's got some good athletes, great wide receivers. A good defense. But man, it's Tom Brady, and man, it's the Buccaneers. Like you take this entire roster, same coach, same players, Tom Brady. You put him on the Oakland Raiders, I'm all in. I think that's a lot of fun. Like I like let's do it. But or the Las Vegas Raiders, I should say. But I don't know, like the Buccaneers. Like could you have picked they might as well gone to the Jags. Like I'm just not excited about that.
Here's what I'll say: if the Bucks win, I'll only really be happy if Brady decides to retire. He says, "Look at my kingdom. Look at what I've created. I've got nothing to play for. I'm done. I'll take my impossibly healthy body and go live on a beach the rest of my life with my wife and kids." Like that, he can just do that. But what's going to happen is he's not going to retire. And if he doesn't retire, I'm telling you right now, you better play it till you're freaking 50 because I don't want to hear about. I don't want you to like peter out. Okay, you're either all in after a Super Bowl win or you're all out. Like I don't. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
I know
you better be the
exactly.
first guy we've seen to play to like 51 years old or some crazy shit like that.
This is what's
Otherwise,
annoying.
it's like it's just like you just. Ugh, ugh.
I agree. And here's what's annoying. Every single year, starting from like maybe like his fifth Super Bowl appearance, we were like, okay, there's gonna be a season where he just gets torched, where he's not that good, where he gets sacked 20 times, throws a million picks, and he's gonna go out in shame. Every year when he's at the Super Bowl, I'm thinking, okay, this is the next year. This is when he's gonna do it. This is when he'll fall apart now. He never does. He goes to a brand new team. I thought, no way, no way the Bucks, get to the Super Bowl. They probably won't even make the playoffs. They started off kind of and they just found a way to. It. So you're right. I'm calling it this year because if it doesn't happen on any time, it's going to happen on the 10th time. If he comes back, next season's the season where he turns back to a regular human and gets destroyed.
Oh my gosh, Scotty.
It has to
But
happen.
you
At
think
some
that
point, it has to happen.
do you think that Mahomes won't destroy him in the Super Bowl? I think the Chiefs are like really, really strong. Their
No,
offense
I think this
is
is going to be a close game.
It'll
mm,
be a close game.
I think it is literally a coin flip because the Bucks defense is playing very well. And honestly, I know Brady threw 3 interceptions in the NFC Championship against the Packers, but the dude had a first quarter that was really, really good.
Really good.
And I mean, and I'm just telling you, Andrew, don't sleep on Tom Brady. That's all I've got to say.
it's not that I'm
He's got a
sleeping
good
on
enough
Tom
defense.
Brady.
He's got hold on a second. He's got a good enough defense. He's got tons of offensive weapons. He's got a good head coach. Like that's all you really need to get there. I mean, if Peyton Manning had any defense other than the 1 year they actually did go and won the Super Bowl, he would have had 3 or 4. Like, but he never had a good defense. So Brady's got a good defense.
That's
This
Mahomes,
is
it's
they
true.
as long as they can keep up scoring with Mahomes and them boys,
Drew.
they'll
Drew.
be fine.
The Chiefs are going to be. They're going to be tough
They're
competition.
gonna score a lot.
But here's the
They won't.
thing.
Hold on a second. They won't. Sorry, Scotty. They won't. They may not score a lot. In the
That's
last 3 games, they've only put up. I mean, the last game they ran up the score a little bit, but they struggled a little bit against the Browns. I mean, they their last couple regular season games too. They weren't put. They kind of petered into the postseason
They did.
despite having a 15-1 record. Like
the
they
Chiefs.
won the games, and that's all that matters. But
The Chiefs offense can definitely score a lot of points. They've proven it. They've also proven that they can be kind of lackluster. But here's the thing, and this is why I probably am going to give the edge to the Bucks here. I think the Chiefs can definitely win, but I think that the Bucks defense is pretty darn good. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, the Packers offense is almost just as good as the Chiefs offense, and the Buccaneers did a fantastic job at locking down the wide receivers. They had really effective corner play. They didn't really couldn't establish a huge run game. The Packers. And you put Rodgers and Mahomes at the same level. The only difference maker that I think that the Packers really couldn't have compared to is Travis Kelsey. So if they're able to expose the middle of the field, then I think that could potentially lean more towards Kansas City's favor. But it's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady with a good defense, with great weapons, on the offensive side. They've got Gronk. They've got they're it's going to be a good game. I'm actually, the more I'm talking about it, I'm excited for the actual game itself. I just don't like the fact that it's Tampa Bay and Kansas City. That's the part that but the game should be a great game. It's two really good teams. If I'm Roger Goodell, I'm pretty pumped about the Super Bowl.
every season, every Super Bowl, almost every Super Bowl, I rarely have a rooted interest in who wins because my team's never there. And and actually, when the Patriots have gone, I had been rooting for Belichick because former Browns coach. I like Belichick, but more than anything, I'm just usually rooting for a good game. Like I even enjoyed the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, which everyone hated. They thought it was so boring because it was all defense.
It
It was
was
like,
good.
in their low teens, both teams. That was a good football game. I mean, both teams were in it. Like, even the if the Patriots hadn't come back and ended up beating the Falcons that year, was in a crazy comeback win. That was looking to be a terrible game because the Falcons were running away with it.
Right.
Nobody wants to see that. You want to
The
see the two
Patriots didn't
teams.
have a lead that entire game. They
That's
they
right.
literally won at the end.
That's right. So I don't know. I think this game will be a good game. And if I had to predict the game, which I don't have to, but I think you and I both should. And I actually haven't thought about the numbers here, so I am going to say that the Bucks win 35-28.
Funny because I was thinking about my prediction too, and I think the final score is 35-28 too. I think that's what the final score is going to be. So for all you bettors out there, or the office pools, 35-28. That's a good one. I still,
Say it.
I think the Bucks are going to win 35-28 too.
Oh, I mean that's good. We're on the
It's
same
not,
page,
but it's
but
not fun. It's not fun.
not very good content. No.
No,
It's okay. I'll say that the Chiefs win.
Hey,
Eh,
what? What?
um, I'll say the opposite score. So 35 Chiefs, 28. We'll go with
There
the
you
same
go.
score line. I like that score line, but
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah.
Do we know what the line is for the game?
the line has been fairly consistently. I think Chiefs -3. Sorry.
Chiefs -3, not three and a
Yeah.
half or
Let me
two
look.
and a half.
I'll get you the real numbers here in a minute.
Actually, Chiefs 2.5. That's pretty good.
Chiefs 2.5.
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah,
It's still line's still at 3. Chiefs
um
-3,
Chiefs -3. All right. Well,
and the over under is 56.5.
can I say
I'm
this?
taking the over there.
I'm going to say something. I like Gronk. I don't know why. It's so different in my mind for some reason rooting for Gronk versus rooting for Brady. If you're rooting for Brady, you're just like a troller and you're like, I don't know, I don't- I have not met one person out of Boston that actively likes the player that Tom Brady is, which is kind of ridiculous to me. You at least get some people. I guess I'm going to use the LeBron comparison. But you at least get some people that like LeBron as a player. There are a lot of haters too, but like game respect game kind of thing. I think people legitimately think Brady's a cheater and doing some weird shit with his health. You know, I don't think he's a very likable guy. But Gronk also has unlikable qualities, but the dude's just a big, lovable meathead. I mean, the dude just likes to party and catch a ball. And the thing I appreciate about Gronk the most is he's a good blocker, and that's most of what he's done this season, which is
Yes,
why he's been
right.
healthy.
It's
But
true.
I love a blocking tight end. Zach Ertz, get out of here. I'm done with you. I don't need you anymore. I want a Gronk. Okay, I want a Cameron Brate. I want someone that's going to stick their nose in there, and lay someone out. That's what I like. Eric Ebron, get out of here. I don't need you.
I agree. I mean, a good blocking tight end is good. It's funny that you mentioned Cameron Brate because I'm pretty sure it's Gronk and Brate versus
Yeah,
Kelsey. It's a
yeah.
good tight end matchup in the Super Bowl here.
Great tight ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, and imagine if the Bucks hadn't lost OJ Howard.
Ooh.
I know. That dude, he hasn't done a ton. And I'm not really a believer in OJ Howard, but he hasn't really given me a reason to not believe or to believe. He hasn't been healthy. He's had
True.
good moments. He's kind of like Njoku. A little bit like Njoku.
No.
I
The joke
know. Eye roll frustrating. I get it.
the joke who can't catch. That's a whole different bag of worms right
He
there.
turned it on in the playoffs, though.
He did.
He had a great game.
He caught like 3 balls. It was great.
Yeah.
Which is a huge improvement. I mean, I agree.
Yeah. Cool. All
So,
right.
anyways.
So we both got Bucks 35-28. All right.
I think
Well,
it's time for a top 3.
yeah.
You
Let's
guys
do
do
top
top
three.
3.
Scotty, you give me a top 3 first.
Top 3 Quentin Tarantino movies.
Oh man. In order or not in order?
Whatever. Top 3.
I'm gonna go Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill 1, Kill Bill 2. Done.
Wow. Okay.
I love Kill Bill, man. Big fan.
It's a good movie.
Scotty, I want top 3 fast food chains.
McDonald's, Wendy's, In-N-Out Burger.
See you next time. All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.